Hello, my gems, and welcome back to Fanfiction Woes with your host, Hoppy. Now, the reason I paused is purely out of excitement because we are doing the first installment of the Club Penguin fanfiction series. We're doing three as per normal, but in the future, if you want more, we'll give you more. And just if you haven't seen the thumbnail, well, you should have, but you should see the commitment, the pink puffle shirt. This is purple, but it's supposed to look pink. And this morning I dyed my hair supposedly pink, but it's purple. But I tried, and with that, let's move on. Burn by Rosa Blinth, writing verifically. Writing verifically. I apologize if I get that wrong, but one hell of a name. Anyway, the everyday phoning facility is set ablaze, destroyed by Herbert, a sign that the EPF had fallen, and that Herbert had control of the island, a sign that the island was in its darkest hour. Somehow, the fire is exactly what he needs. Written for the Operation Blackout Art Challenge, Day 2, Fire. So obviously the fandom is Club Penguin. I wonder what the actual name of the fandom, like for my K-pop followers, ATEEZ. Well, that's the name of the fan base, but ATEEZ is the name of the group. So I wonder if there's a name for the fans of Club Penguin. I mean, it's a little bit too late, but still. Character, ambiguous character. So I'm guessing that's one that's not one that we know. Additional tags. God. No, really, that's half of the fun. You'll figure out who they are later in the event, or series if you're reading this after the challenge ends. Operation Blackout. Operation Blackout Art Challenge. Day 2. Fire. Fire. No beta. We get frozen alive like agents. So, right off the bat, and yes, I have got my laptop here. I hope you like the Animal Crossing. Well, you can see the ring light. The decorations. I'm only doing this for the tags because this is a lot to take in. I'm sorry. So the classic no beta tag. This is when you know that when someone has probably been recording at 4 a.m. just want to get something off their mind onto paper. Normally this means something crack like, or it means something very depressive. But we shall soon find out. Anyway, yeah, it's a part of a series, and it's always a bit of a risk taking something out of a series because sometimes they can be seen as one shots. But skimming through this, it definitely, yeah, you can do it as one shots. Don't worry. Um, and also one of the reasons I did one shots and not the entire series is because our attention spans as Gen Z are not great. So let's be honest here. And all of this adds an element of mystery because we know something's going on. We know something's on fire. We know someone doesn't like it on fire. And we know there's someone talking about the whole thing and we have no idea who it is. That adds an element of mystery. And I like that. I like when fan fictions actually make you think. It challenges you. Not when you're reading fan fiction at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're just barely alive. But in general, I like a good challenging fan fiction. The fire trucks weren't something that the Club Penguin Fire Department broke out often. The only time he really recalled seeing it was earlier this year back in June. A party building in the Snowforts had caught fire, so they broke out the fire truck to keep it under control. But that wasn't even at all that necessary, really. The fire was completely under control the entire time, even before the fire truck had arrived, and with the building already intended to be temporary, no real damage was done. This situation was different. This was the second time he's seen the fire truck, and the fact it was the second time in 6 months was quite alarming. But this time, the fire in a building was always intended to stay. It was caused by someone with the intent of destruction. It was out of control, and the fire truck was pulled out to ensure it didn't spread to the ski lodge or anywhere else on the island. It was deemed necessary, the fire a serious threat. Okay, so first of all, Hello Kitty hair clips because I don't have Club Penguin hair clips, but we'll deal with it. So, with that introduction of sorts, I was there, sort of, when it happened, but you got to remember that time and now is very different. I'm 26. I started playing it when in 2006, and I played it ever since until literally until the very end, until when the servers shut down. I was on the Avalanche server, and everyone was saying goodbye. It was really emotional. We were on the iceberg, and I'm not gonna like cry about it, but it was I did then, and I was how old was I? I don't know. I can't remember when it shut down, but yeah, it's something very close to my heart, and I'm not surprised now it's darker because we have all aged, and we have never forgotten Club Penguin. So the fact that the author, has really expanded on this event, the fire, which did occur at the lodge, or it almost occurred there. And when the PCA got, well, they couldn't say it got, can I even say this in YouTube videos? It kind of went kaboom. But because it's a kids series, it kaboomed in a very funny popcorn way. This is going to sound strange to anyone who doesn't know the law, but yeah. And then the EPF had to take over because the PCA, Penguin Secret Agency, I think, they didn't exist after that. So the elite Penguin Force had to come in and deal with that. So actually, if you stand back, you realize how intense of a situation it is. If you take it literally, through the eyes of a child, it's just this fun game. But our protagonist obviously knows that these are dark days, and we still don't quite know what's going on. Yeah, there's not much to add on from what I said before, weirdly enough. So let's just move forward. Because apparently some polar bear decided that leaving a place he despised wasn't an option and decided to track down EPF headquarters and blow it up. In hindsight, there was always something unusual about the everyday phoning facility. Everyone had assumed Gary would just rebuild the sports shop when it randomly just got destroyed by popcorn, and the news that he wouldn't took most by surprise. The fact that the building that replaced it was just an empty concrete room with two security cameras, a power panel, and one singular phone really just added fuel to the flames of the rumors. It made sense that the everyday phoning facility was hiding something. Why else would the building be so weird? This one makes a point that I was thinking, because at the end of the day, the entrance into the old spy agency was in the sports shop, as it says, but you went through this changing room, and then you would get in. But I love that for the next agency, they literally just build a concrete building. So just imagine, yeah, as a kid, you think, oh, this is all cool, like sneaking into your secret base, and then you're just there in a concrete building trying to find your way. Like the tests there were not that hard, and quite frankly, in a real world circumstance, if there was a big, essentially empty building, people would question it, or it would be an open secret. In fact, there was one, I think it was in New York, whereby it was a completely empty concrete building that went up like it was tall. And as it turned out, it was used for intercepting messages from multiple countries, including their own. And yeah, so never underestimate a cold, empty building because it's less empty than it looks. Um, it, that information I found out later on in life, in fact, quite recently. Um, but I just find that fascinating, really. And that reminds me of it, I guess. And what else? I think that's it. There's been a lot of background, which I appreciate, but I'm also looking forward to getting, like, I want to know what he's going to do. And I think we're going to get into it. Regardless, the building was in ruins now. Destroyed, overtaken by flames. It would take quite some time to rebuild, assuming it didn't just get shut down like the sports shop. But that wasn't a problem for him at the moment. Rather, it was exactly the kind of place on the island he was looking for. He slipped through the door, papers clutched tightly in his flipper. No one would think of looking for him here, a civilian amongst the ruins of the EFT, especially not Herbert. He supposedly had no reason to be there. So why would he, or anyone, get this close to the flames the fire department was so trying desperately to control? And besides, the flames protecting him, he felt like he had to be there. That was the only place on the island to do this. So, first and foremost, I love the inclusion of the word flipper. It's is one thing, but it's just something nice because it shows that the author really knows the law, and obviously he or she does. But I just find it cute. And anyway, I would also like to point out that I think I got it wrong before because I said something about the fire. I didn't know where the fire had started, which is stupid because I was talking about the PSA going kaboom, but I could not connect the dots. But yeah, I wasn't entirely sure where the fire had started. Also, before there's something about a fire in the snow fort. I just knew there was, yeah, uh, slightly embarrassing. But the point is, the gift shop is on fire, and everyone else would run away, including the man himself, Herbert. So our protagonist is going towards the fire. Why? I think, oh, why? But the documents he has in his hand is he wants to burn them, which makes you question what is in those documents. What is it? What's so bad that during this time of anarchy on this island, that you are you are using your time to go towards flames, which of course is dangerous, and more importantly, where no one is. So you can't save anyone. You can't track down Herbert and his crew. You can't really do anything. So what are you doing there? So he's obviously there to burn documents. And I remember at the time when this happened, in the Club Penguin Times, they did say this is a darker period, etc., etc. But as I said before, we played this as kids, we review it as adults. So when we hear the word dark now, in the past, it was something different. And I'm kind of glad about that, retaining some form of innocence. So I wonder what's in those documents because it's going to be more intense than what we saw. Um, So that's exciting. And I'm slightly worried for our protagonist because that shiz is gonna hurt. The thought of how close the article in his possession came to getting published sent a shudder down his spine. This was highly classified information, something that the EFP would fight to keep from the public knowledge. Heck, he regretted reading it and wished he could forget about the article revealed. What the article revealed, I should say, knowing how forbidden the knowledge was. No one should have to read it. No one should ever be able to read it. It had been an impulse decision, and one that he deeply regretted. Their little team of 8 had been searching the island to see if Aunt Arctic was safe, having grown concerned that they haven't heard from her in almost a week. Their search had led them to the Club Penguin Times office, where they found the office abandoned and the newspaper half finished. He had instinctively grabbed one of the articles and read it over, thinking nothing of it at the moment. After all, it wasn't like there could be any serious confidential information in there, right? Okay, so it's definitely darker like I thought. People going missing left and right. Um I mean, it does sound like the end. I don't know if we're going to be told if it is and that's going to have that kind of spin, but this sounds like a dystopian nightmare. I mean, not to go into the details of the politics and the real world, but it feels dystopian here, but boring. Not like, what you see. I listen to lo-fi and cyberpunk and all of that, cyberwave, sorry. And it's set in the future. It's dystopian, but there's loads of neon lights. There's a cool kind of vibe to it. It feels kind of cool. Whereby in this dystopia, we're bored and the world's falling apart. It's possible to feel both things at once. There's a word for it, and I studied psychology. I should know this. Two things that sound. If I remember it, I'll edit it in. Cognitive dissociation. Cognitive dissociation. I think it is. Anyway, I completely lost my train of thought aside from the fact that it really feels like the stereotypical dystopia, the one that we all know. Um, and I want to know what's in that. Okay, so those documents are being put in an article. I want to see that article and why it's so intense that it is being burned. And I know I'm repeating myself a bit, but it is a bit repetitive, this story. Not in a bad way. It needs to, certain points need to be it has to be made very clear. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm not Italian. Um, so I mean, I think this is the second last paragraph. So I hope we get some answers. Maybe even find out who the guy is, but I think it wouldn't really matter at that point. No offense. Guy or girl, I think there's a he somewhere. I'll check it out. There was, in fact, serious confidential information in there. He glanced down at the papers he held in his flipper. There had been an unspoken hope among the island's citizens that Herbert wouldn't go that far, that he wouldn't try to publish this information. The fact that he evidently had every intent to do it was terrifying. The EPF would work themselves to death doing damage control if he had published it. They didn't deserve the stress. They were already working themselves to the bone trying to reclaim the island, trying to keep themselves afloat with all of their top agents disappearing and vanishing by the day. Okay, so beforehand it was being suggested that the team couldn't be reached, and now it's the top agents that can't be reached. That's terrifying. I vaguely remember who they are. I also played the DS game. I know Dot, Jetpack Man, Gary, of course, Rookie, Antarctic. Yeah, that's the best I can do for now. Um, what else? And because he held the papers, it is a he. That penguin's a he. I'm glad we got confirmation, even though it turns out I've been saying he the entire time. So I don't know what that says about me. But yet again, there's the obvious emphasis. Wow, I'm a writer. I'm writing a book. Empath. Em- I blame the epilepsy. Okay, it ruins my memory. Empathis. This is embarrassing. On how dark this is and how this probably isn't going to end well. The flames embraced the paper like they had found the melody they were searching for. The papers turned black around the edges and started melting away, turning to ash, swallowing the secrets that they held, rendering them locked away forever. He watched, stone-faced, as the papers faded into oblivion. Only once they had fully vanished did he turn and leave the everyday phoning facility. He knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that this was the right thing to do. Destroy the papers and take the secrets within to the grave, protect the EPF and the penguin whose life Herbert was trying to ruin. Aunt Arctic had gone through way too much in the past 3 weeks, really. This was the least that he could do for her in return. Okay, so I brought my laptop up purely because we have to talk about that wonderful, wonderful part. The papers turned black around the edges and started melting away, turning to ash, swallowing the secrets that they held, rendering them locked away forever. He watched, stone-faced. Okay, you just heard it. But that is incredible. And it's extremely poetic, and it's got to the point whereby obviously we know the relevance and there's a lot of important information, but I just got this image of this penguin just standing there alone in Aunt Arctic's office, just staring at, I don't know why, but like staring at the flames. No, he didn't. Editing this is going to be fun. But I got an image of him standing near the flames, just watching them burn. And he will be reflecting on that. And because, you know, it's media, he'll see a reflection of himself in flames, even though I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. But to be fair, the closest I've been to fire was when a place I was staying in got petrol bomb, petrol BOM. It got bombed, okay. So that's the closest. And ever since then, I haven't really been around fire. Don't want to. I can handle a candle on occasion. I'm going so off topic. But no one can be found. Aunt Arctic can't be found. This guy, he has to do everything now. He has the weight of the old PCA, the EPF, Aunt Arctic. He has that weight. And that must be terrifying, but he's coping with it well. The adrenaline, the everything. I'm not Christian, but God bless that guy. I hope karma is on his side. And it would be. I'd like to think. That is an ambiguous ending, and we saw that in the tags. I mean, we all know that Club Penguin didn't end then. But in truth, if this was real life and we still survived, this would be a traumatic memory for everyone on the island, like PTSD and so forth. And it's so sad that these things aren't supposed to be deepened. Like I'm deeping it. I shouldn't, but it's hard not to. And I'm doing 2 other videos on that, so I'm going to in a way. But I'm so glad I watched it as a child. Watched it, played it as a child, and despite the fact that if I look at a lot of it, it's actually quite dark, but through a child's eyes, it's not. So yeah. So I didn't plan on this fan fiction, the first installment, to be that depressing. However, I think the author did an amazing job. Just the writing, the flow of it, making sure that the audience knew what the problem was, but at the same time, there was an element of mysteriousness. Is that a word we shall find out? Anyway, it has layers to it, and it being that complex for a Club Penguin fan fiction is incredible. So credit where credit is due. And so with that, we are done with this video. So goodbye, my gems, and I will see you in the next one.